Live. Welcome, Dabblers. Andrew Bogut, good again to see you, my man. And your rocket bet's already up, Tatum.
Just I know. You've got
going on a frenzy.
Happy birthday to everybody.
Yeah, nice one there. Well, over 500 people copied that bet as well, which is exciting. Shout out to Woozy, he's in here. Vass, good to see you. Very exciting. Opening day. I mean, this is my favourite day. NBA is my favourite sport.
It's your favourite day, opening night?
Yeah, I love it. I guess Christmas Day is pretty good too.
I love playoffs.
Yeah.
Regular season, yeah, I think opening day or Christmas, but I love the first round of the playoffs. I just love all the tension and kind of everyone's kind of tight, at the start of the series. But yeah, opening night's fun. So
we'll talk about opening night and your experience because we'll chat more about that when the ring ceremony takes place for the Warriors. But was there much in it for you, or was it just business as usual because you've already done the pre-season, you've done the work, and you're just sort of working out rotations and minutes and stuff?
Yeah, for the most part, look, on good teams, like when I was with the Warriors, we kind of knew our rotations. They weren't going to change, barring major injury. And on teams that weren't as good when I was in Milwaukee, there was still spots to be earned sometimes. When coaches come into a training camp with, this is my roster on paper and this is what I'm looking at, and then someone surprises. Someone steals a roster spot late. Someone steals a starter spot. So I've been on both ends of that, and it's kind of generally the good teams usually know.
Yeah. So your pick last night to come out of the East was Philly. I mean, they're going up against the Celtics. You don't give much to the Celtics. Do you think they could be?
Oh no, I think they'll still be in there. I just try to go with someone out of left field. Not left field. I think Philly are going to be good. Yeah. But I just thought I'd just try something. I think Harden, from all reports, wants to win a championship and wants to buy into but being that guy, and they got Embiid. I like their bench. They haven't started off too well tonight, but I mean Boston's still going to be in the mix. Don't get me wrong. I think, like I said, I think it's Boston, Philly, Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Miami. Like, you got the East is as deep as it's ever been. And of course, if you've got any questions for Bogut, feel free to ask him throughout the day before. Bogut, going to do better today with your dog bets. No dog bets today, unfortunately.
Pulled them out.
That was for a bit of a giggle, but I'm not a punter by any means.
Yeah.
I don't study the book.
Yeah.
Like I said, box one's usually my philosophy on dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you think it was funny, we were talking about just then Harden saying, he's given the, perception that he's that guy, he's taking the cut in his paycheck, but then he came out and said, I didn't get enough credit for taking a paycheck.
Is that why he did it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, look, he needs to win. He needs to prove that. I guess it probably stings him a little bit. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. Even the Celtics went to the finals, and I think he touched the finals once, and that was with OKC back in the day. So didn't get it done with Houston, where he was the man. So now I think it's a matter of him having to prove that he can win basketball games and be a winner. So, I think they've got a good team. It's just a matter of they have to figure things out along the way. The issue is they have only one basketball and a lot of stars, so they've got to figure out that balance. Yeah,
well, he's scored already 31 points today, Harden. Does that?
I think he's buying though. He's a defensive end. He's just horrific defensively. He reaches, he lunges, he gives up easily, saves his legs for the offensive end, and a lot of scorers do that. I mean, that was where Steph's biggest growth was. He wasn't a great defender early in his career and got knocked for it at times. He's gotten to a point where he's probably an above average, a little bit above average defender because he just gives effort and he buys into the team defense. Whereas I think James, a lot of the time, he just kind of flails about and flops and reaches and puts his team in a bad position. So if he can just get that to, 2 or 3 notches up, just so it's at a consistent level, I think it makes it much better.
So that's obviously the NBA perception from the media point of view in the outside world. Was that in the locker room, you're like, hey, we're just going to expose Harden?
Yeah, we knew, we had conversations about it, and look, our guys were nightmare to guard for guards that we played, and that's without the ball, because they move so well without the ball, and they're running off stagger screens, they're setting screens for each other. So we always spoke about if Harden's off the ball and there's an action, try to cut back door, try to cut behind his head, because a lot of times he's not paying attention on help side. So we would pick on him every now and then, but there was a phase there in Houston where he was a little bit better. He brought in a little bit. I think we realised they have a chance to make a championship run, but you just want to make sure that he keeps that effort on a nightly basis because he's phenomenal at the offensive end, but I think he at times hurts them horrifically at the defensive end.
Golden State Warriors, Lakers today. We talked about it a bit last night that LeBron is going to go on a bit of a rampage. Woozy just there putting in a stat line, 23 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. Do you think that's going to be basically his average for the year?
He'll average more points than that, I think. Was that 23? Yeah, I think he'll average more than 23. I think he's gone for the scoring record. I think he wants to get that done sooner than later. The assist numbers, I don't know. They just don't. I don't think they have enough shooting for him to have high assist numbers. I think he'll still, the ball's in his hands so much that he's going to have his 7, 8, 9 assists. But the LeBron of seeing 13, 14, 15 assists on that squad, I don't see it. There's going to be a lot of ISOs for Anthony Davis when they want to go inside, and they just don't have enough shooting on the three for him to get those easy assists.
Interesting that he went against that sort of three ball, didn't he? Because you'd say he's a pretty analytical man, but they say that he builds the team around him. So is that true or not really?
Oh, he's definitely the GM. Him and Pelinka do it together, I think. But yeah, I just don't understand how they didn't really emphasise getting a couple more knockdown shooters, even guys that are probably towards the end of their career that are just guys that you cannot leave. You know, they don't really have a lot of those guys on that roster where LeBron needs shooters to get into the lane. That's his strength, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how they put that roster together. There's rumours that Westbrook was going to come off the bench. Now you read today that no, he's starting. So I mean, we'll see. We'll know from the first 4 or 5 minutes of this game how that roster's looking.
Is that sort of amazing then that they won the championship when it was the bubble with that team?
Well, it wasn't the same team. They had a little bit more shooting. They had a good mix of veterans. You know, Rajon Rondo, Dwight Howard. They had a good mix of guys there. KCP, Kyle Kuzma was a great three-point shooter for him. So they had a bit more shooting, I believe. But it's just interesting that they've fallen off so quickly from that championship roster, where they've basically gone to the doldrums of the West in less than a year. That was definitely surprising.
LB wants to know your thoughts on Maxey, his rise this season. Could he be most improved player?
It's going to be hard for him to get most improved just because his numbers, I don't know what he was at last year, I guess 16, 17, 18 a game, somewhere around there. He's not going to take that much more of a jump with Harden and Embiid taking 80% of the touches together. So I don't see his numbers jumping off the page much more than they did last season. So I think that hinders his most improved. I like him though. I think he's, you know, and they love him too. That, you know, I think Brooklyn was really trying to get him in that trade. In the Ben Simmons deal somehow to absorb Ben's contract, and Philly wouldn't budge, so rightfully so.
With those guys like Maxey, who's come on so strong, what's the ceiling for him then? Do you think can he get to the top?
Know. Well, you don't know because he's playing behind two absolute superstars. So you see that a lot. You saw that in James Harden's journey with OKC, right? Like he was coming off the bench behind KD and Russ, that all of a sudden that someone, Houston identified this guy can be a franchise guy. Yeah. They brought him in and it worked. But then there's been other examples of people thinking that with the third or fourth cog in a good team and they bring them on as their franchise guy and it doesn't work. So there's a bit of a risk there. Would I have him as my franchise guy right now? No. But I think he's a really good number 2, number 3 option right now in the NBA.
So who would be would you say there's 5 top tier talent in the NBA that you've got to sort of have on your team to win it all?
I think every team needs an elite shot maker. Yeah. And, it doesn't have to be an elite or like Giannis to me is an elite all around pretty much. His shooting's gotten better. But if you've got a Jason Tatum, a James Harden, a Steph Curry, a Klay Thompson, guys that can just make tough shots out of junky offense, that's what wins you games. In long playoff series, especially NBA Finals, like when your offense gets clunky, you guys know, both teams know each other back to front. You need a guy you can just throw the ball to that can just get you a bucket. And the teams that generally win championships, I'm probably the only team the only 2 teams really in the last 15 or 20 years that haven't done that are the Detroit Pistons, who just ran that. They were scoring in the 80s though, and probably the Spurs. But they did have Tim Duncan. But you need an elite perimeter. Today you need an elite perimeter playmaker, shot maker to, I feel like, win a championship.
Aaron says he's got the Lakers to win this today against Golden State. What do you think about that?
Well, they're paying.
Let's have a look, actually.
It's got to be $3, $4.
It'd have to be a fair bit, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I don't, but look, it's opening night. Anything can happen. Like, who knows where the Warriors' psyche's at. It's ring night. They could maybe enjoy the night a little bit too much. You got the Draymond Green punch and Jordan Poole. What's that dynamic like? The Lakers, everyone, including myself, is talking smack about them. So maybe they come out and shock the world, but I still don't think they're going to be a deep playoff team, in my opinion. So maybe you'll be right.
Plunkett Betts wants to know your thoughts on Jack White.
Yeah, I love Jack White. I met him for the first time, besides being around him on the basketball court, like playing against him or whatever. I met him for the first time at Jock Landale's engagement down in Deniliquin, actually.
And Denny.
In Denny, yeah, his parents have a massive farm out there, so he had his engagement party there, and met him for the first. Outstanding young guy, like just salt of the earth human being, like you'd almost feel bad like scoring on him. He's that nice of a guy, right? And the way he's earned his roster spot and role is commended. It's all kind of the traditional Australian way. He's just grinded his way up, earned a roster spot, and on top of that, it's hurt Melbourne United because it's been a big loss for him. So it makes it even more fun.
Well, it's funny because he was at the Supercats, wasn't he? Like in the NBL 1, wasn't he, for that little stint? And then
playing in the off season, just to keep in shape. But he was, I mean, and the thing was, his shot. The question was like he can't. He's not shooting the 3 ball well, and in summer league he shot the piss out of the ball.
Yeah.
And they're like, we think, he's, from what I've heard and read, he's one of their best performing 3-point shooters at practice. So good on him, deserves it all. I'll enjoy his rise. He did get dunked on pretty bad the other day, though. So
Josh Giddey, someone we spoke about a lot yesterday, really, and someone you've got a lot of praise for. Could he get most improved player?
Once again, his numbers were pretty good last season.
Yeah.
So generally, people that like the fact that Ja Morant was on the most improved. Who won it last year? Was it Ja Morant?
Yeah, I think it was.
I don't even remember.
Let's find out together.
I think it was Ja. His number. He was already a fringe all-star the year before, which was kind of crazy. I think your numbers kind of have to traditionally jump more than if you're at 7 or 8 points and need a double. When you're averaging 12, 13, and 14, you go to 18. Is that really most improved? I think Josh will have a chance for it if they scratch a playoff berth or a play-in, which I don't think they will. I think they'll have a chance for it, but it's always hard to predict most improved players this early in the season.
Vass wants to know, Bogut, what was the bigger occasion, Kings versus Townsville on a Tuesday night or Warriors Cleveland final series?
Kings versus Townsville. They've been out of the league for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, the final series was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Cleveland fans, like our fans, really tough environment. Cleveland's
It's so loud, isn't it?
Yeah, Cleveland's a whole other ballpark. Like they would, because their arena's downtown. When I played for the Warriors, we were playing out in Oakland, which is in the boonies, in the middle of like some rough areas. So there was not a whole lot of infrastructure built around there. There was no restaurants, none of that stuff. Whereas Cleveland is right downtown. So I remember our bus trip going to the arena for the games, and all the Cleveland fans would be on this kind of main street with cafes and bars and shit, and they would all just be standing there synchronized, flipping us off. So
so it was pretty brutal.
Thousands of people just like flipping us off and abusing us and throwing stuff at the bus, and they were passionate, so it was pretty interesting.
Just on that, while we're talking about crowds, what was the roughest crowd in the NBA when you go somewhere that's just so hostile?
There's nothing really hostile.
No.
Like hostile for me was playing Greece in the Athens Olympics, the opening game of the men's basketball, and get spat on and all kinds of stuff. That's hostile. European basketball's hostile for the most part. I mean, the NBA, the best crowds for me, OKC was a really good crowd. San Antonio's got a really good crowd. Cleveland in the finals, but regular season they're not that boisterous because they were it's a smaller market, so it's a bit harder to fill the arena. Where else is good? New York's good if you're the visiting team and you're winning because they start booing them straight away. As soon as you get up, there was one game we played New York. We won the jump ball. They were in some turmoil. They get smashed in the media. Yeah. We won the jump ball and scored, and they started booing. You're just like, this is awesome. So, yeah, a lot of different places have a different vibe about them. But Golden State's up there. I don't know about San Fran because I haven't been to a game or been part of the team there, but Oakland at its peak. I still remember our first playoff run in 2012-13.
Yeah.
And coming out for Game 3, it was 2 in Denver. We split one. We got one game there. Game 3 was bonkers. They were there like 90 minutes before the game. Let's go Warriors chants were already started. We could hear it from the locker room. Just awesome.
Well, it was like that death third quarter, wasn't it? When they had the death line up on for the Warriors. When you're sitting there on the bench and like all these guys are on a massive run and the 3 points are just dropping, is that one of the most deafening things you've heard? And does that just get you? Obviously it gets you guys up and about?
Well, yeah, that lineup was instrumental in us winning a championship. We went small for game 4, 5, and 6. But yeah, more so on the road because it just during the regular season, the crowd would actually start cheering for shots that Steph and Clay would be making. They almost forget that they're there to cheer for the home team. But in the playoffs, it gets so emotional that it's just dead silent. Like you hear they hit these big shots, and it just goes. I remember we played OKC in that infamous series where we were up down 3-1 and lost. No, down 3-1 and won. Sorry, and we were in game Game 6 against OKC, and they were up by, I think they were up by like 7 or 9 or something like that with 45 seconds left. And the fans behind us walked down to the bench and they're like, yeah, time to go home, like abusing us and whatever. And then Clay hit like 2 threes in a row. He came down, hit free throws, and we ended up winning the game.
Yeah.
You turn around and they're all gone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, when you watch those guys get in those zones where everything's falling in our offense, it was just such a natural flow state of like Steve Kerr literally didn't have to call a play when we're in those kind of moments. In that psyche, it's just like it's all automatic, man. It's just it's a beautiful way to play basketball.
You say with the playoffs, it's your favourite time. Obviously, the energy goes up, the skill of the game goes up. Does the trash talk go up as well? Because someone's asked who's the best trash talker on the court.
It doesn't really go up. People, I feel like it's a bit more. It's way more physical in the play. Like the referees literally change the way they officiate games in the playoffs, and then the finals, it's even more physical.
Yeah.
So that changes. Trash talk wise, I think it's the same. Guys are a bit more cranky during the regular season because I feel like they're not sleeping as well because they're out partying more. It's game 55. It's snowing outside.
Can't be bothered.
And then guys are a bit more antsy about let me just get through this game unscathed and try to win and get out of here. Biggest trash talker I was around was Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he just wouldn't shut up. So he had a thing about messing with international guys as well. So he tried that with me a few times, and I went back at him, gave him a few elbows back, and then he left me alone. But he would generally, for some reason, he'd always pick on international guys, and he'd see how you'd respond to his niggling, and I took no crap from him and gave it straight back to him, and he was like, all right, I'm not messing with this dude.
Yeah.
He's cool. But there's other guys in the league that he would notoriously just try to intimidate, and if he gets to you, he's won the battle.
The Banter Channel is saying surely Draymond Green was pretty good at the trash talk.
And punches, evidently.
Yeah. What did you think of that? Because, I mean, you're pretty close to the situation in a way.
Yeah, look, it's interesting. I've seen 2 punches. People that say, this is the norm, it happens all the time, and it doesn't.
Nah.
Not punches. Push and shoves happen all the time.
Yeah.
There's always that push and shove. Everyone pauses, waits for all their teammates to come in, and I'm going to mess you up. Let me go.
Yeah.
That happens like
Bravado.
almost every other day. But an actual clean cock back punch that made your teammates' knees kind of buckle, you don't see that very often. So interesting they didn't suspend him. Especially Steve Kerr's always full of calls with a lot of things.
Yeah.
That was interesting that they didn't do it, but they have a tight-knit group that they would have taken this to their leadership group and said, what do we think? And I think the calculated solution was that if we suspend Draymond, do we potentially lose him mentally for a couple of games or a month, or does he come with kind of pissed off about it?
Yeah.
Albeit, does Jordan Poole feel good about him being back in the lineup? So they would have had all those conversations and figured it out, and that's why they're champions, because it's all about managing personalities, in my opinion, in the NBA today. It's the X's and O's and offense you run and all that kind of stuff is important, but what's more important is the day-to-day personality management.
LB wants to know, do you think, as you just said there, you talked about how they would have had the leadership group, will it affect their chemistry this season at the Warriors?
Look, me personally, outside of Nolan Draymond, I don't know Jordan Poole, I haven't played with him, but I mean, Jordan Poole's got to have some reservations. And I think what made those reservations greater was the leaked video. So I think if the video doesn't get leaked, I think Jordan Poole's probably a little pissed at Draymond. You got me, you're knocking me on my ass. The fact that then that got leaked and everyone saw how much he got dropped, that level of embarrassment goes up tenfold. You got mates probably texting you, giving you shit about it. Sorry, I shouldn't swear.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I think that I don't think that relationship will ever be the same, in my opinion. But I could be wrong. Maybe they've mended it, but I doubt it. I mean, if you've dropped someone to their knees and the whole world's seen it, the level of embarrassment, and even just because it's your teammate, it's your leader, it's your veteran, I think Jordan Poole would definitely have some reservations in that relationship.
Do you think that was the same with KD and Draymond?
Probably different. I mean, KD, different echelon of player. Probably some frustrations for him were like, all this ball movement stuff's great, but just get me the ball where I want it. I can get you the same basket. And I think KD and Draymond just probably got into it a little bit about that. I think there were times where Draymond probably thought KD wasn't fully engaged with where he should be, and there was probably times where KD thought, you're a role player talking to me. I'm twice the player you are. I think that's probably where that relationship broke down. And then once again, Draymond and KD going at it in that Clippers game, That's all for the whole world to see. So then a level of embarrassment comes where like, Draymond, big boy KD, or KD went, and then that gets in guys' heads, and then that relationship's severed. And I think once that happened,
that was it.
That relationship was done.
Yeah. You were just talking about fisticuffs before. Did it happen regularly? No. You're saying not really. You'd only seen the 2 punches. Dr. No wants to know.
By the way, those 2 punches didn't connect that I saw. Too.
Oh, really?
So, it ever rarely happens. To get to that point, it's
old school,
it's
isn't it?
Crazy stuff. Yeah, that's like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. It started to phase itself out.
Dr. No, just off the topic of basketball, wants to know Hungry Jack's KFC for hangovers, Bogut.
Hungry Jack's or KFC? Well, Hungry Jack's is a sponsor of the NBL, so I got to go with Hungry Jack's. But anything greasy, anything full of fat is usually the way to go. So
yeah. Game day rituals. Did you have any?
No real rituals. I'm not a put my left shoe on first guy or anything like that. I think just routine. Just try to. We usually have shoe out in the morning, come home, have a bowl of pasta and some fruit, have a little nap. I wasn't a day napper, but I'd at least try to lie down in my bed and just kind of tune out and
relax.
Then relax and then get to the next game.
Thoughts on Simmons ever getting back into the Boomers? Vass wants to know. Do you think that'll be ever the case that he will play for Australia, or do you think he's too far removed from it?
Well, you never say never. I hope he does. I just don't think he's committed to the national team. And I can't fault him for that. He's got probably other interests and motivations and things that appeal to him, and probably wants his off season for his, mental health and be able to, get ready for the next season and next season. But it'd be great to have him, but I just don't see it. I mean, it's once bitten, twice shy. Well, we've been bitten 5 times. Until I see it with my own eyes and I see him in that jersey at a big tournament, I'm just going to keep saying the same thing. Like, let's just build our program thinking that he's not going to play. And if he rocks up to a camp and actually wants to be part of the national team, then great.
Yeah, Plunkett bets. What colour jeans am I wearing today? None. But Bodie's got the blue jeans on, so he's representing my last name well. And how do your other sports go? Because obviously hand-eye coordination is a big thing for you. They're asking if we can get a table tennis match between the two. Are there any other sports that you really excel at?
Not bad at table tennis. I wouldn't say excel at, but I enjoy playing tennis.
Yep.
Great game, really fun game to play. Not bad AFL footy. Can kick a ball, can mark a ball, can hand-eye coordination is pretty good there. I'm pretty competitive. Pretty much ball sports in general. I'm a huge fan of most ball sports.
Yeah.
I don't like sports, that don't involve some sort of hand-eye coordination or ball use, right? So, ping pong, played a fair bit with some mates. Tennis, definitely. Soccer, not too bad. For a 7-footer at least, I can hold the ball about a little bit, but it's always hard as a big fella. But I like all ball sports, man. Big fan.
Did you play a bit of golf with Steph at all?
That's the one thing. I'm not a golfer. I feel like you got to go with really good people on a golf course that you really like, because 18 holes can be torment if you're with one bloke that you don't like. And just because I'm so big, I got clubs and I had to go get them resharp. Get some length put on them, get them resharpened. And I was like, this is too much. I'm not that into golf to go through all this stuff. Tennis is kind of more my game,
I imagine it's hard enough getting shoes to fit, let alone finding golf clubs.
I got some shoes actually, but I like constant. So the one caveat with ball sports is I like that constant action. I don't
move
like,
it around.
Play a shot and then play another one 15 minutes later. That's kind of not me.
Requests, if you're into coaching, do you want to coach an under-12s team?
Not right now. I've got 2 kids, a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and coaching them's hard enough. But I will get into coaching eventually. I'd love to be involved with kind of the elite young juniors at one point. So we'll see how all that goes.
You're a big AFL man. You love the Bombers.
A big AFL man,
How do you think they're going to go now with Chris Scott Brad Scott rather at the helm?
I don't know, man. The Bombers are.
Are you done with it? That's it.
Oh, mate, I'm beyond, I think I'm beyond done with it. Like it's just the last
20 years.
The last 20 years wins loss, but then even the last 12 months of just our board and our admin and just what we did 2 weeks ago, hired a guy, then fired a guy because of public perception about certain things and about his personal and private life I disagree with. It's just like, we're constantly dictated to by, we're so scared since the drug scandal, I believe, that we're trying to not put a foot wrong publicly. And it's like, you're going to get things wrong sometimes and there's going to be turmoil, but we just kind of, as soon as there's turmoil, we fray. And that's been the story since the drug scandal, that we're just so scared of taking a risk and maybe getting some backlash, like the Clarkson thing, right? It was like we're so scared of taking a risk and saying, "Oh no, let's talk to him 3-4 months out." Just have that conversation. We're scared of doing that because we're scared of the public backlash. So you can't run a club being scared of the media and PR. Like, you know, there's going to be pros and cons and negatives and positives running any sporting organisation or club. You just got to go with the flow, and you're going to get things wrong along the way. But I feel like we're just in no man's land as a club. So I'm not optimistic, to put it that way. I've the last 5 years I've said, "Oh, this list is really good. This list is really good." 3 years, this list is really good. 2 years, and you're just like, mate. And then by round 5, you're like, we're cooked. Like, we're not making the finals.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like hard to go to games after that.
Put the cue in the rack. It is funny because even if the decision maker is right, you're going to get backlash anyway, aren't you?
There's always going to be someone that's, you know, either not happy with your decision or offended by your decision, or you didn't do this right or you did this wrong. And it's just like, you can't please everyone. I think they need to just get in a little tunnel or a funnel and just be like, this is our club's vision, and this is the way we're going to do things, and block out everything else. Like you could do something that 90% of people absolutely hated and were smashing you for, and then you win a premiership, and then everyone's like, "Oh, yeah, well, I was kind of for that back in."
That's right.
You know what I mean? And then it's just, the problem is we need to find a bit of success, and one of the heaviest, highest number of members for an AFL club, considering we haven't even sniffed the second round of the finals in 20 odd years. It's pretty impressive that the fans have stayed loyal. So hopefully they can get something going in the next couple of years.
Your rocket bet's already got up, so you've already given the punters a bit of a win there, which is great. We'll have a chat about your same game multi shortly. Scooby wants to know, NFL to take over Christmas Day, the triple header on this year, is that designed to disrupt the NBA viewership, you reckon?
Maybe, yeah, I think so. I mean, look, the NBA owns that day probably worldwide, I'd say. Christmas Day, and it was great. Like, when I played in a few of them, and I was part of a few few teams that we didn't get the opportunity to play in a Christmas Day game. But it was just cool to be able to wake up from 10 a.m. American time to midnight. There's about 5 games on, which was sensational. So definitely enjoyed that. But it'll be interesting to see if people go and support it. I think they will. I don't think it's going to hurt either sport though, because I think there's just
fans for both,
and population's so high in the US. So.
Plus, people can't get enough of content, can they? You know, everyone's trying to consume everything as much as they can. So
there'll be some people with split-screen TVs on, and I assume the NBA and the NFL will play it strategically, where they probably won't have. I doubt they're going to have games in the same city, bar maybe New York.
Yeah.
They're not going to have, in the smaller markets. I doubt they'd both be going head-to-head with each other. It'll probably be the big marquee games for the NFL.
So over 500 people copied that rocket bet. Well done to those people. Now, you've got a same game multi here for the Lakers taking on the Golden State Warriors. That's not far away, which is very exciting. It's paying $7.50. Warriors, you've gone -6.5. You think they can win by a bit more than that, don't you?
I think a little bit more, but it's opening night. You just don't know what can happen. But I think, I think if they're gonna win, it's not going to be a close game, in my opinion. And I think the barrage that Steph and Clay can put on very, very quickly, and now Jordan Poole, I like that 6.5 line. Yeah,
that's why you've got Curry, I guess, for over 20, Thompson over 14. I mean, he's going to get most of his points from the 3 line, you'd say.
Yeah, and I think Clay's a bit more healthier, so I think we should see him putting the ball a bit on the floor a little bit more and getting back to the free throw line. The line, all last season was around that 13, 14 for him. And if the Warriors are to win, obviously Steph's going to have more than 20. So that was kind of a no-brainer. And yeah, I think I got, who was the Lakers? I think
Davis,
Davis at over
25.
Over 25. I just think that, he's going to get a lot of post touches. He's going to have mismatches at times. With the way the Warriors go small at times, he might have Draymond Green. Even Looney's kind of a good matchup for him with his quickness. So I think he should comfortably get his 25 tonight. Yeah,
so if only one leg fails, you get cash back up to $25 on that one. Not far away from the ring ceremony as well, which is going to be great to see. On that, do you still keep in touch with those guys? What does it mean for like Clay and Steph, the 4th time that they're collecting another ring? And is it going to be emotional for them again?
Look, the emotion maybe, but I think, speaking to Draymond, he said this was kind of his Swedish championship, just because they weren't supposed to be there. Then he had a few kind of lulls throughout the playoffs. People were killing him, so he said he felt like it was the Swedish championship he's had. So I think, look, they'll put him up there with the rest of their rings. They won't count any more or any less, but they've been in this position before. So hopefully that's why I think they'll win. I think if this is the first championship, that night can really be emotional, and you can forget you have a basketball game and you come out and you're down 15-5 at the first time out. they've been through this 3 times, so I think they should adapt pretty well.
Yeah, because it'd be, as you said, like, how would you spend your time there? Because as you said, you're excited, you're emotional about the ring, and then you've got a game to play. So is Steve Kerr really good at sort of keeping your level
I don't
headed?
even think he needs to at this point.
Yeah.
Like, they've all been there. It's probably a few of the younger guys maybe, but they're coming off the bench anyway. It's the start you get off to during those emotional moments. So I think they'll get off to an okay start. But yeah, I don't think Steve's gonna really hatchet down that. He'll let them know, hey, it's an emotional night, get our rings, but make sure we're professional and we don't embarrass ourselves here in front of our home fans. And that'll probably be the only thing he says.
We're going to get to a Dabble staple question in just a moment. But best coach then, we'll just talk about Steve Kerr. Who's the best coach you've ever played under or had?
Well, Steve Kerr was really good at managing personalities. I don't think his X's and O's were anything from, Einsteinish. Like, there was nothing really special that we did. All he did was came in and manage personalities well and just try to get us to limit turnovers from when he took over, because we were a bad turnover team before he came. The best coach I've had X's and O's was Scott Skiles. The issue with Scott was he's a very hard-nosed player and a very hard-nosed coach, and the burnout generally sometimes happened with him after 2 or 3 years of the same squad. Guys would start tuning him out because he was a very, very hard taskmaster. But his X's and O's he was phenomenal. His game prep was phenomenal. Off the board, quick. All right, we're gonna draw this play out for a game winner. Unbelievable. He was really, really good. So, he should be coaching the league. It's just, unfortunately, I think his mentality has just been, frowned upon these days in the NBA. You can't have a rah-rah coach anymore. So he probably needs to tweak that a little bit, and he should be back in the NBA.
This is one that we've had on the Dabble banter channels for a long time, and it's to do with tomato sauce. Do you have it in the fridge or the pantry?
Either or, but fridge generally. Yeah.
You're a fridge man.
I like it cold. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But I can do either. I'm not really.
Yeah.
It's not like I'd lose my mind if it wasn't in the fridge.
Yeah.
But we have it in the fridge. I think it lasts longer too, doesn't it? In the fridge.
Well, yeah, you think so. Especially now that you're in Queensland, you have to have it in the fridge. Low fat or full cream milk, Bogues?
Full cream generally. If you're gonna do it properly.
That's right. Don't cut corners. Thoughts on Baines? We were talking about him. Obviously, come back to the NBL. Can he get back to the NBA?
Look, it's going to be a long journey. He had a horrific injury. He was out of the game for, he wasn't walking for a period of time. Having a kind of an issue with his neck and vertebrae and whatnot. So he's coming back into shape. I actually watched him live on Sunday at Brisbane. Sydney Kings played up there, and he still needs to get in a little bit better shape, and he'll probably be the first to tell you that. He's still sucking a little bit of air. It's going to be a hard run, in my opinion. I think, look, there's an opportunity there. You never know what can happen with injuries. Yeah. But it's very, very hard to leave the league and get back in at that age. There's a lot of young guys that sometimes have to go overseas, apply their craft in Europe or the NBL, get some numbers up, and they're like, hey, we can bring him back. But for a guy, I think he's 33, 34 years old, he's got to have a stellar year. He hasn't started off like a house on fire. They're 0-4, but hopefully he gets his legs under him and starts to find some form the next couple of weeks. We were talking about the AFL just before, and you've sort of gone off it. Do you watch other sports like soccer? Because someone's asked Messi or Ronaldo for you. Not a huge soccer watcher anymore. I used to love the Premier League as a young fella, but just stopped watching it. Just was really hard to follow. And then the US, the time difference in that wasn't great. So we usually during the day, but I'd probably go Messi out of the two. Yeah.
So Celtics are probably going to win this one, 123, 108. Yeah, what do you take out of? What do you take out of the first game? Is it a lot? Do people get downtrodden after a first game loss? Not really. I mean, that's the beauty of the NBA. Most of these teams are going to play tomorrow or the next day. Yeah. So move on quick. And this will potentially be a conference finals matchup we're seeing right now, if not a second round matchup. So, look, like as I said, Philly's defense, that's not going to get done. You give up 126 points, to Boston. That's not going to get it done. They need to go back to their film and see what was wrong, because defensively that's a pretty poor performance. Looks like Boston will probably finish with 130 here if they score here. So that'll be something they definitely need to fix. So going back to opening night, because we're not far away from the Warriors and they're about to get their rings. When we were talking about the rituals, were there any guys on the Warriors that had some interesting rituals? Not really. Not that I noticed. Yeah. It was more routine-based rituals. Yeah. So Harrison Barnes used to go. So in the NBA, you warm up and the clock counts down. So we usually come out. You do all your pre-game shooting from like
90 minutes down to 60, there'd be slots like, all right, Andrew, you've got this slot from 60 to 70 is your slot with the coach. You go get some shots up. Everyone has their slot. Go back to the locker room, taped, ice stretch, heat stuff, stretch, massage, maybe get some more food or carbs into you. And then we'd run out as a team together at about 18 minutes left till tip. We'd do our layup lines, get our shots up, stretch. And then right when that 18 minutes expires, the anthems start. Harrison Barnes would go to the back and do a number 2 every game. And I don't think a lot of the times he was even needed to. But it was a more mental thing. Just get out of the bright lights for 3 or 4 minutes. And I would do the same thing. I wouldn't go to the bathroom, but I would go back into the locker room and just kind of reset for a couple of minutes. Maybe sometimes my contacts would get dry, put some contact solution in, maybe take a leak for the last time and then get back out there. So it was more routine based for a lot of guys, but Harrison Barnes one was always an interesting one. So I remember we did it all year, and you're technically supposed to be there for the anthem, stand for the anthem. And the NBA in the finals send us a memo saying, not all your guys were out there for the anthem. If they're not out there, we're going to fine you. And so we did it for games. I think it was one of the games we did it for, and we lost the game. And then after that, Harrison and I were like, "Nah, we're just doing our own thing." And then they didn't really say anything after that. But it's pretty interesting.
Because the anthem's pretty big, isn't it? Like in the States, was that something that was weird for you?
The problem was I would go back and take a leak anyway. So sometimes by the time I was done with my leak, if I'm running back out, I'd run
during it.
And I'm like, that's disrespectful. So I just started getting in a habit of, I'm not going to make it back. I'll just wait for it to finish. And the league didn't care. But then in the finals, they're like, oh, no, you can't do that. We've done it for 90-something games. And they were okay about it after they figured out it was our routine.
A few LeBron legacy questions we'll get to in a second. But Vass wants to know, what was your best ever game? You scored 30 or over 30 at the Bucks one time, but was there one that sticks out for you where you've just gone, geez, that was elite?
That's a career high at Indiana. I had 27 rebounds in one game. Which is pretty crazy. I think it was 27 against Miami. So that, a couple of 2020 games. So statistically but just being part of the Warriors run was just fun for me. Real memorable playoff series was against the Nuggets in our first run of the playoffs. We didn't win a championship that year, but it was our first kind of run into the journey. And that Denver series, I had some really cracking games and just was awesome to be a part of.
So LeBron, I know you're not the biggest fan of him. Do you get over the legacy chat because there's a comment there about how does this affect LeBron's legacy, which is always you'll see.
How does what?
Just anything. So they'll say, the topic on social media will be a story irrelevant to LeBron, but they say, how does this affect LeBron's legacy? It's a pretty great legacy, but will anyone surpass him that's coming through? For instance, someone's asking about.
There'll always be someone eventually.
Could Giannis do it, for instance?
It's going to be hard. I don't think Giannis is getting the scoring record. Put it that way. I think it's just very hard to match the numbers and longevity, like I said last night, that LeBron has brought to the NBA, being healthy for that long and being on the court that long and breaking Kareem's record is pretty crazy. So look, I think he's going to go down. I'm like I said, I love MJ, but as far as one of the greatest to ever play, it's probably gonna be LeBron when it's all said and done.
So we're going through at the moment. We're at the Warriors game. Walk us through what's happening now. So obviously all past champions there.
I guess so. I have no idea. It's new. So they got a couple of past champions. Sean Livingston, former teammate. Mo Spates was a former teammate. So a couple of guys just there to kind of honour the night. Put emphasis on it, which is kind of nice of the Warriors to do. And there's Peter Guber and majority owner Joe Lacob, and interested to see how blingy these rings are. Looks like it's the same maker of the ring that I got, so it might be similar. I think it's Jason from Beverly Hills.
So how many diamonds were on your ring?
I don't know. It's a boatload, man. It's got to be. It's a boatload.
It's pretty exciting. So obviously all the rings are out there. Did any guys do anything interesting with their rings, or is it all just very precious, keeping it locked away?
Actually.
Or
it's not something really discussed, to be honest with you. But I don't think many guys would do anything too crazy with it. The craziest guys get is once they lose some money in retirement, is they sell them.
Oh, really? Jeez, yeah.
There's a lot of guys that have done that.
What's the going market for a ring?
So Horace Grant's rings just sold. He donated his to charity many years ago, raised money, and then I guess someone's on-sold them since then. So I think for his three-peats, it was something like 80K for all three, I think it was.
Oh, wow.
For all three of that was 91, 92, 93.
Jeez,
So,
okay.
yeah.
But I guess...
So, I'd probably comfortably get... Australian could probably get 40K, I reckon, for it.
But you'd never do that, would you?
Nah.
No way. And
if you ever see me sell my ring, I'm in some trouble.
I'll text
I'm
you
in some
check
big
that you're
trouble.
okay.
Like box one hasn't come in for a while. Stuff's really hit the fan.
And so opening night, do they have big celebrations in the streets leading up to it, or is it?
Nah.
There's nothing like that. Nothing.
That's a parade after the championship, but generally no. It's a special night because we know over in the US they love these kind of big pump ups and prestigious days, and this is one of them. But the real fun is the parade. The parades are awesome.
Who was usually best on ground for the parades?
Draymond usually.
Yeah.
Clay was really good. Clay was a roughie that no one would have picked. He definitely enjoys himself. So those two guys definitely had fun.
What happens straight after you win? Obviously the goggles come out. They've already got them pre-planned. I can't believe how well organised it is, and everyone's just spraying champagne. Do you get on a jet and then just head to Vegas?
That's what we did. Yeah. So we won the chip on. I think it was a Monday night in Cleveland, which was awful because nothing was open. We rented out the steakhouse, partied there. Flew back on Tuesday, got back Tuesday night. I think we had our parade on. Our parade was scheduled on the Friday, so then we had Wednesday, Thursday to just chill out, do what we wanted with the family. Had our parade on Friday morning, and then we had a plane charter ready to go at like 3 o'clock in the Arvo, going straight to Vegas on Friday night, and then we came back Sunday morning. So literally we went to Vegas for like 36 hours, and yeah, it was a fun weekend. It was the whole team, and that wasn't team organised. That was us, just knowing that this squad's never going to be together again, the exact same squad, because whether we like it or not, there's going to be different guys that get poached, and coaches, and this and that. This is the last time we can celebrate as a group, and we did it that way. And yeah, it was a really, really fun time in Vegas.
Yeah, I can still copy your multi that's up at the moment. It's a 4-leg multi. 1 leg fails, up to $25 cash back. The traders are going to have a heart attack. Already 1,200 people copying that bet, which is very exciting. Clay's on the mic at the moment. Now let's hand over to Steph. Who was the one that just wanted to be on the mic and talking at these events?
Draymond.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely Draymond. I think the infamous first championship we won, he had a few drinks and they caught him on the mic just heckling Cleveland, after we beat him, which is pretty funny. So he definitely loves it.
He had the T-shirt that had mood on it after the LeBron tweet, and had the rings on it. How early was he planning those sort of things? Was it all happening during the season?
Who knows with him? Like he loves to banter back and forth.
Yeah.
He's a guy that always has a long memory on things.
Yeah.
So he'll always come back and get you. If he knows you've slighted him, he'll wait for an opportune time and get you.
We sort of touched on this last night, but Victor, I can never say this name until I'm going to hear it on TV. Victor Wembanyama.
Wembanyama.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Thoughts on him again?
Yeah, just looking forward to seeing how he goes. It's going to be an absolute freakish athlete to have in the NBA. I'm interested to see what position he's played in and how his growth continues to go. He's still a year away, so it'll be very, very interesting to see how it all goes with him. But he's an exciting prospect, and a lot of people have said he's the best prospect ever to come into the NBA draft in NBA history. So
it's pretty big raps, isn't it?
It is, considering LeBron and different guys that have come through. So going to be good.
Most interesting celebrity who's approached you outside of basketball.
Who's approached me? Man.
Who slides into the DMs, Bogues?
The DMs. Look, I've just said hello and chatted to a lot of different people. Like I met, Larry David, Jerry Seinfeld, who was a big fan. I was a big fan of that show as a kid. So I met both of them sitting courtside. Phil Hellmuth is a good friend of mine, actually. Talk a fair bit. So poker-wise, he's the best poker player of all time. When you factor in bracelets and wins losses, I have to really rack my brain. But there's always people. That was a thing. When you get good in the NBA, every celebrity wants to sit courtside. So you run into people and different people be at our events. Went to Mark Wahlberg's house actually for.
What was that like?
We got an advanced screening of what's the movie? The series that went to a movie.
No idea. Which was it? An action movie?
No. What's it about the Hollywood?
Entourage.
Entourage.
Yeah.
I've drawn a blank, getting old. So Entourage. So Harrison Barnes was kind of knew Mark Wahlberg a little bit, and we were in LA for a game, and the movie was coming out in about a month, and he invited us over to his mansion in Beverly Hills and gave us an advanced screening of the movie in his theater room.
Yeah.
Like the theater room was like as big as a theater.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool as well. But Kevin Hart's been around the team a fair bit as well, and yeah, I've met more people through poker than the NBA, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, just playing poker, you'd be surprised how many big time celebrities and sports stars play poker. So you end up rocking up to games and there's Kevin Hart or there's someone else, and you have a mutual love for the same game. It's pretty cool.
What's Kevin Hart like? Is it sort of weird when they're on the sidelines just chirping at you?
Yeah, he's just a larrikin. Like he's a funny dude. He's a funny dude, and yeah, he's just one of those guys that you just love to be in the presence of because he's always taking the piss out of someone. So and himself, which is good.
Scuba wants to know: have you ever used the ring to get into places or get some swag?
No, it's literally been in my safe since the time I brought it back from the US. So I probably do need to get it out more. I said yesterday probably need to start taking it to kids camps and stuff just to show the kids what it's like. It'd be a pretty good prop to bring along to things and then get people excited. But it'd be good.
What do you reckon it's like for LeBron just sitting there courtside now watching the ring ceremony? Do you think he's a guy that just will use that as fuel, I suppose?
He's got his rings. Not really.
He doesn't care?
He's been on both sides of these celebrations. So I think he got 2 in Miami and 1 in Cleveland. So he's got 3 and 1 in LA, 4. So he understands it. I think obviously he might come out and try to make it, remember me, I'm still one of the best in the league. But I think the Warriors have it covered.
Is it amazing to just see behind the scenes how quickly, because obviously there's a lot of stuff out there for the ring ceremony at the moment, and how good the operations staff are at these stadiums to just turn it all around, and then you've got a game of basketball in the next 30 seconds.
No one does it better than Americans. We wouldn't be able to do this because there'd be someone, government official, saying it's an OHS violation because you've got heavy trophies on the court and it might affect the wood and someone might get hurt. The Americans just do a fantastic job of these kind of celebrations and just making sure they pull no punches. Like it's just a really great kind of environment to be around over there.
We were talking about it a little bit last night, the debate between MJ and LeBron. What does LeBron need to do to be the GOAT?
Well, for some people, he already is.
Yeah.
So for me, I think getting that scoring title, all-time scoring points leader in NBA history, it's hard to argue with that. So I think that's definitely one of them, and I think he's going to get that this season. So, like I said, I'm biased towards the 90s and MJ because that was the pinnacle of my childhood and great memories. But you can't take away what LeBron's done. He's been phenomenal.
Still got your multi up there, which you can copy just through the bets tab. You have to copy it from Andrew Bogut's account. How often, this is from point 7, how often does Curry make those crazy shots at practice?
A lot. So when we do our warm-ups, he's just flinging balls all over the place. So when we do just like our stretching, kind of everyone's on a line and we run up and down the court, jog, high knees, all that crap. He's always got a ball with him and just throwing underhand and hook shots and more often than not they're going in. So he practices a lot of that stuff, just taking the piss, and his ball just goes in. Like he's just one of those guys that, if you gave him a dart and a dartboard and he'd never done it before, within 5 minutes he's hitting the ball.
Really?
Like he's one of those guys. He just has it. On top of that, he works very, very hard at his craft, but he just has it.
Are you still close with those guys? Do you catch up
Talk to a fair few of them still, like Andre, Clay from time to time, Draymond from time to time, Harrison Barnes, Mo Spates, Festus. So yeah, most of the guys keep in regular. Like when you win a championship, even if there's guys on the team that you weren't too fond of, you've got a special bond forever, right? Like it's 15 guys, 15 players that have a chance to win a championship every season, so it's pretty special.
When you were travelling with them, who was the guy that you would spend most time with or hang out with the most?
Poker table.
Yeah, poker table.
So we had a table on the plane, like food, and we used to play. It was myself, Steph, Clay, Draymond. Were always guarantees to play for the most part, poker, and then every now and then we get a few other guys joining. So those 4 were kind of the staple every flight we play poker. It's amazing how quick your flight goes when you're playing poker. It's phenomenal.
And was it like big bets going on, or was it just sort of more for fun sort of thing?
It wasn't low, it wasn't high. Like you got 4-hour flights sometimes. Keep in mind, so you can get hit pretty hard. But we played what was it? I think it was 20-40, no limit, PLO, or it was dealer's choice. You could do hold'em or pot limit. So
Where did your love of poker come from? Did you have it always, or did you get introduced to it?
I used to hate it. I used to hate seeing it on TV. I used to think, like, how is this a sport? And then I just kind of had someone teach it to me, and loved it. This is Nanea, the lady getting the ring. She's kind of an unsung hero, so this would be why she's emotional.
Yeah.
She does everything behind the scenes. Like, you need anything, she'll get it done for you. You need an apartment, you need a real estate agent, you need a car, you need something for your wife, for a baby, for a hospital, a doctor, whatever you want. She's kind of the Jack Bauer of the Warriors and can get it for you. So they're just honouring her, and she was very emotional, obviously. So pretty cool.
And that's great to see. So that's one of the good things that makes the Warriors such a good organisation, is that they obviously celebrate the people behind the scenes.
Yeah, and look, it's hard to celebrate everyone because the Warriors, I'd assume, would have 300, 400, 500 employees, but Nene she's the glue that she does so much and is often forgotten about. And a lot of people, she feels the brunt of when things go wrong. But she's, I'm talking like getting families to games, getting families on flights, visas, this, that. Like, she's one of the best I've been around.
We're seeing the banner get hung at the moment. What's that like, just seeing it get raised?
Yeah, pretty cool. They have a bunch up there now, so they're in that new arena, which is really, really awesome. But it's always just good to be part of these emotional nights, and it's something you'll kind of always remember.
So a couple of questions. Will the Knicks ever be relevant again?
Not for a while, they won't. They're still a ways away. I don't love their roster. I think the acquisition of Brunson helps a little bit. But similar to the Rudy Gobert acquisition, like, how much does it move the needle for New York? I'm not sure. Maybe one spot in the playoffs up higher. But they're young. They have a little bit of potential because of that youth. But I don't see them as making any noise for a couple more years.
Yeah. Who's in your top 5 all time as well?
Oh, these questions are impossible, man.
They're hammering you hard, aren't they?
You'd have to, MJ's in there, probably MJ, LeBron, Kobe probably, and then you got Shaq's probably your 5, or Hakeem, in my opinion, and then your 4, you can go Tim Duncan, you can go Kevin Garnett, you can go Dirk. Like, it's an impossible thing. But for me, I'd go MJ, Kobe, LeBron. I'd probably have Shaq as my 5 just because he changed the game. Yeah. And then my 4, I'd go Tim Duncan.
Would Steph ever get into that?
Steph's up there as well, of course. Yeah, but like, it's no matter what top 5 you put in there, someone's going to be like, oh, what about this guy? It's like, I think Steph's probably the next 5, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But then you forget about a lot of guys that played back in the day, because it's all about what have you done for me lately. So you forget about some of the guys that played back in the day, George Gervin and Oscar Robinson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So it's hard, very, very hard to pick.
We're coming off a win already, Bogues. Your rocket bet got up. Tatum scoring that 30 points easily, over 500 dabblers getting in on that. This one's got over 1,200 already. Still time to copy the bet straight from Bogut's account in the bets tab. $7.50 Lakers to take on the Warriors. The same game multi. Warriors over under, so they need to win by over 6.5. Davis to score over 25. Thompson over 14. Curry to score over 20. You think they'll be up for it going against the Lakers? I guess does that help as well? Is there that rivalry between LeBron that you get up for a game, or does it not really play into it?
I think they'll play into it somewhat, but yeah, I think the championship night, and it's one game. Like, people forget it's one game out of 82. This isn't going to make or break either of these teams' seasons. It's nice to start off on a win, but like the Boston Philly game, like, it's not like Philly are trying to make a trade now and panicking. So I think it'll be a good game. With
that, obviously the first game you're saying is not going to be too much of a. But if you lose the second game to the Lakers, or does that play into it when you start to lose to them consistently throughout the?
Not for the Warriors. Like, some teams, maybe they might have the muzzle on someone, but like the Warriors just don't overly value regular season games. Their whole philosophy is, let's get to April or May healthy. We obviously want to win games, but I was part of that team where we won 73 games and we went all out for that, and it probably cost us in the end because we had guys get hurt and whatnot. But yeah, I don't think it matters too much for a team like the Warriors. For a younger team maybe that's trying to come up, Memphis or someone like that, I think it can have a bit of a mental effect where you're like, damn, we just can't beat these guys. And we kind of had that on the Clippers. They had it on us, and then we retooled our roster and started to develop and get better. And then once we started beating them, they couldn't even get close to us, and then they had that mental thing where they just couldn't beat us.
Just having a look at the Warriors warming up for the game, and they've got their NBA champion kits on. How many kits do they give you in a season? You've just got how many clothes just provided to you from the Warriors?
Oh, there's a lot, especially these days because they're trying to sell different. Like there was one season I think we had 9 different jerseys we wore, 9 different variations, like Chinese New Year, Christmas Day game, so. They love bringing out the kid, and it sells over there. But I've got closets and closets full of stuff.
Oh, really? So you've just got a whole room just dedicated to it still? Keep them
all?
I've
kept all my jerseys. I had a thing that I've kept every jersey I've ever had since I was a kid that I've worn. But there's sweatsuits. There's all that finals memorabilia gear, and I give a lot of it away because I'm never going to wear like a button-up finals jacket.
You might have touched on this last night, but hardest player you've had to guard from 0.7?
Yeah, that was Yao Ming.
Yeah.
Yeah, touched on that yesterday just because, he's 7'6" and had the touch of a guard. So there was nights where you do everything right and he would just shoot straight over you. So he was just tough.
Who do you think's who would be the hardest to guard in the NBA at the moment, you reckon? Is it KD with his height?
KD, yeah. When KD gets hot, there's not much you can do because you put a big on him, big, strong, tall guy on him, he'll go by him. If you put a small on him, he just shoots over him. So he's one of the tough ones. Steph and Clay, when they're in the zone, is tough. LeBron can get tough as well. Obviously, he's getting older, but he's still tough to guard. Embiid and Giannis are pretty tough as well. Jokic, basically any MVP candidate is.
It's going to be a hard night.
If they're on, if they're off, they're still getting 20, right?
Yeah.
If they're on, they're giving you 40, 50,
Thoughts on the FIBA refs?
I like FIBA reffing for the most part. I think it's a little bit different to the NBA. I like some of the FIBA rules. I like that you can take it off the basket. I like the NBA's finally put in that you can't hack anymore. I think FIBA are a bit more no-nonsense for the most part, so they get on with it. But, Look, referees make mistakes. In the heat of the moment, I've gone at referees plenty of times, rightfully and wrongfully. But I think that, for the most part, referees, they're going to make mistakes. You just got to kind of move on from it.
Do you have a relationship with them? Because I know, obviously, Chris Paul hates Scott Foster, for instance.
Yeah. I think it's like, 13 straight games they lost something?
It's a lot, yeah.
Look, there were a few referees that were really cool that you could talk to and joke around and banter with and have a joke with, and there were a few that were kind of stern but fair. Joey Crawford was one that he was stern, but I felt like he was fair for the most part. And he'd banter with you, you'd cry for a call that wasn't there, and he'd call you soft, or he'd go back at you like, man, I'm not calling that soft shit, So it was kind of cool. Really cool. Right?
So you like that side of things?
I like the human. If they're human beings, they'll find there was heaps of referees that would be like, I come down and be like, hey man, you missed that foul. I was like, you're right, I did. I missed that. You owe me one, and he's like, I can't. Okay, but the ones that would admit, and they were the best at diffusing situations because it'd be a horrendous call. Crowd would be getting you'd be your fourth foul, you'd be pissed. You go to the referee, like, man, what the hell? And the referee would be like, I screwed that one up. I apologize. Yeah. And then you can't get any more mad. Yeah. So it's a great way to handle it. But there's a lot of officials that are stubborn and arrogant that are just like, no, I'm going to tee you up. Yeah. But you made the mistake. I know I'm reacting, but I'm human. But be a human back. Yeah. And it usually diffuses it pretty quickly. Now, if I'm going crazy, swearing and trying to fight, whatever, tee me up, throw me out. But
see you later.
I always respect the referees that had that human element.
Yeah, I love that. Is it true you were cut from the Vic Junior rep team?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, I was cut numerous times in 14s and 16s from just from the Dandenong Rangers. I was put in the third or fourth team at one point. And then the under 18 Victorian State team I was technically cut, but I made emergency, so if someone got hurt, I got to go to the Nationals, and no one got hurt, so I didn't go.
Do you think, did that play a big part in you getting to
no doubt. Yeah. If I didn't have that journey, I doubt I'd be here today. I would have, if I was, that's the thing with junior sports for parents listening and people with kids, is you don't want to peak too early. I feel like you want to start peaking in your age group at 16, 17. I feel like if you're peaking at 11, 12, it's so hard to sustain being at the top for another 5 years, unless you're just a talent like LeBron, which is one in 100 billion. You always want to be. I feel like middle of the pack's the spot to be because you got people below you that are trying to get to where you are, so you got to fight them off. But you're also fighting to get up to the top. Yeah, if you're at the bottom, it can be demoralizing. You just end up not enjoying it. And if you're at the top, you think you're a rock star, and then you're in for a harsh reality in a year or two.
That's right.
So
Especially when everyone's still growing as well. So
100%.
people get stronger. And
it's a balance. Like it's all about a balance.
out.
And I was kind of always the middle of that pack, you know.
Not far away from tip-off, still close to 1,300 people copying your bet there, $7.50. If one of those legs fails, you get cash back up to $25, which is pretty nice. I know, isn't it? Well, we had to. The traders felt sorry for us last night, folks. Where they were basically up to $25 cash back, which has been great. Josh versus Bogues, 1 versus 1. I don't think so. I mean, I could.
How old are you?
33.
I'm a bit younger.
How much? How old are you now?
38 in a month.
Mate. Yeah, I still don't think that's. I might wait till you had surgery, and then we can do it day out after post-op. That might work. But Bogues, tip-off's about to happen. It's been a pleasure having you the last couple of days and joining you. And
all right, dabblers, get punning.
That's right. Enjoy it. Take it easy, guys. Bye.